Hello and welcome to our YouTube channel. I am Sandrine Gressard from Improov. We are the experts in efficiency. So on this channel, you'll always hear about tips, tricks, methods, philosophies of how to spend less time working, more time playing, and just working more effectively. Having more time to do things that are really important to you, sticking to the essential instead of losing time and losing your head sometimes in elements that are not that important to get done. I'm so happy to welcome you here. Can't wait to show you the next video. Below, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and don't forget that little bell either so you get notified every time we put a new video on this channel. So thank you so much and enjoy the show. So the first key is really to understanding all the drag and drop that you can do in Outlook. And so Outlook is really an amazing tool for dragging and dropping. And I'm going to bring the Outlook window here. And so right now we're in Outlook, we're in the inbox. And why is drag and drop so efficient? Well, because sometimes when we receive an email, we want to do something with that email. So let's say you receive an email and you think to yourself, well, I have a follow-up to do on that email. I need to get back to that person. And so you read the first email. So I'm going to just show you really quickly. I'm going to put my preview here. And I read the first email and I'm going through and I go, okay, well, this, I have to do something with that. I have to follow up on it. And so what you could do is simply, you can drag it. So I'll share my task here. You can drag this email right here to the right and say, well, you know what? I'm going to work on this today. And you can put it here into today. And there it is. You just dragged it into there. So by dragging and dropping, what did it do? It actually created a flag for today. And this flag is your follow-up. So instead of then going through all of your emails in your inbox and saying, oh, which ones did I flag? Which ones do I have to do what? When do I have to do it? Now you can literally take this email and you can probably just archive it. So all you would have to do here is take the email that we just flagged and just go archive. And now this archived email is now actually sitting right here in your archive folder on the left hand side here in the list of folders. So I'm just going to bring this up a little bit so you can see. So in your inbox, you have an archive folder here underneath your deleted items. And I basically just took that email and put it in the archive, which means now it says here it's in the archive, but there's a flag of something you have to do today. So instead of going back into those emails constantly to say, oh, which ones do I have to do what with? Now you don't need to focus on your list of emails. You simply need to focus on your list of things to do. Now we'll get back to the to-do list here because it's got to be organized and configured. But basically, I just want to show you the quickly drag and drop features. So let's say this next email here. So let's take this one here. Let's say this next email here, you want to read it and you realize, well, this email, I'm going to have to do more than just a follow-up. I'm going to have to actually do something with it. I'm going to have to prepare maybe an email and have to write it out. And it might take me about 20 minutes to 30 minutes. So in this case, you don't want to just drag it and put it as a flag. You actually want to create a task. So we would grab this email here. I'm going to take it with my mouse, left click, and I'm going to drag it and drop it into my task. So you see here, I have the task button, the task symbol. So if you, on the left-hand side of your screen here, if you don't see all these little symbols, it's because maybe they're still inside the application area here. So you see where it says more apps? It might be in there. So I'll show you. If I remove, if I unpin this, my task will disappear. I'm going to unpin this as well. You see, if I unpin them, I'm left with the basics, the email, the agenda, the contacts, and my to-do. But now, if I actually decide to add more applications because I want to use the tasks a lot, I can click on the more apps and I can go and choose tasks. And then if I want to make sure, see, it tells me pin this app. So now I'm going to right click here and I'm going to say pin it. And by pinning it, it won't move anymore. It'll stay here. Every time I click somewhere else, it'll still stay. So that allows me to take this email here and to drag it into tasks. And when I drag it into tasks and drop it, so I release my button, you see what it just did? It created a task for me. So this is a task item. And by creating this task item, I can now document my task. So I could say, for example, so I'm going to type here, prepare a response, attach the form to be filled out. So maybe I have a physical form that I need to attach. So I would insert this and I would go and get the form that I'm thinking of. So maybe it's this document here. Then I would say, speak to Tim about following up on this with some extra documentation, et cetera, et cetera. And so here, my subject, when you create a task, you can actually change the subject. So here I could call it respond with form and documentation from Tim. So now that I have documented this whole task, I can say, well, when am I going to start working on it? So I could say, well, I'm going to start working on it on the 22nd, and I'm going to and the priority is actually quite high because I can't make it let it go past that date, because my due date, I'm going to promise this person that my due date is I'm going to get back to them latest by the 25th. So what I would do is I would say January 25th, this is when my due date is. And so in the course that we give, which is about 4.5 hours of live training, I will explain the reasons behind it, the reasons why we do all this way. And you'll see that there's a lot of logic behind that. So right now I've dragged and dropped, I've attached a file, I've created what I have to do, and I've made it as high urgency. So now if I say save and close, and I show my task list again on the right-hand side, you will see that my task list is now going to show that for the 22nd, which is next week, you see it'll say respond with a form and documentation from Tim. So it's right here. So when as the day gets closer, it's going to go from next week to this week to eventually be tomorrow to eventually be on the day of. So I'm going to see this task move up to when the day actually comes. So that's a really, really practical way of working with it. Now, one thing that I don't like about this taskbar here is the fact that I have all my tasks that I already completed that are showing up. So I don't want to see that. So one of the things I could do here is I could go and tell it, don't show me completed tasks. So I'll show you how to do that. Now, again, in the full-fledged course, we can really program this thing, but by showing you this, you'll see how to get into the back end and maybe start playing with it and seeing how you can configure it better. But one of the things you definitely don't want to see is you don't want to see all your completed tasks. You actually want to see what you still have on your plate. So how do we do that? We're going to do a right click here in the top part of your taskbar. So there's a good probability that you're only seeing it arranged by. You're not seeing all the columns even when you make it wider. So all you need to do is do a right click on this arrange by area. And once you do the right click, you will have access to this menu that allows you to go and play with the settings. So you're going to go to the last option that says view settings. And once you've clicked on that, we are going to go and do something a little bit really quite advanced, but it's going to allow you to just really configure this so that it's much cleaner. So we're going to go into the filter option. And then from the filter, the filter option, we're going to go click on, somehow that didn't work. Filter option, we're going to go on to advanced. And in the advanced, we're going to say the field that we're going to choose is, we're going to choose the complete. We're going to say we want the tasks that are not completed yet. So we're going to say complete equals no. And we're going to add to the list. And by doing that, you will see that now, beautiful. Now my task list here only shows what is still to be done. I no longer see that whole list of things that have been completed. So now I really get to see what's to be done. Other thing I'll give you right away as a nice way to configure the interface is if you don't want to have to make this so big to see all your columns and you want to be able to shrink it and still see the columns up here, do another right click right up here at the top again, go back into view settings, and you will get to see in the other settings, you will get to see that you can use the compact layout in width smaller than, yours says 125 characters, you want to set it at 50. So just a quick reminder to everybody, if you think I'm going too fast for this, don't worry about it. You're going to be receiving the recording in the next 48 hours. And actually, if you're still waiting for last week's recording, the last webinar, you will be receiving that today. So today you'll get last week's webinar on the Microsoft 365 applications. And then in the next 48 hours, you will receive this webinar recording. So you can pause it and you can spend the time going into the tools and checking things out. So feel right at home that it's okay if I'm going a little fast. I just want to show you a lot of stuff in 1 hour. I want to make sure you're getting your time's worth, and that by the end of the hour, you have learned a bunch of tricks that'll be really, really helpful to you on a daily basis. So here you go, 50 characters. If I do that, I hit OK. I hit OK again. And now I can reduce this and still keep my columns, and everything is still organized. So a really nice addition to our way of working with it. So as you can see, if I were to focus on what do I have to do today, I would literally reduce all these titles. So you see where it says tomorrow, next week, next month, etc. I'm going to do a right click here, and I'm going to say collapse all the groups. And then I make sure I'm still in start date and say, what do I have to do for today? And just open up today and really just focus on what is in my plate today. Because to be efficient, we can't be thinking about tomorrow and next week and the week after. We just got to be focused on what did I say that I would do today, and how can I be of my word to make sure that I'm doing everything I want to do today. So that's what we need to focus on. Now, when you're looking at this, you might notice that I got a lot of tasks that are behind, like really a lot of tasks that are behind. But the other thing I'm noticing is that my start date, that takes a lot of room to have the day of the week, plus the year, plus the month, plus the day. That's kind of cumbersome. So we can go in here and just modify that really fast by right-clicking on the start date, going into the view settings again. And this time we're going to go to the format of the columns, format columns. And in start date, I'm going to choose a format that's a lot shorter and takes up a lot less room. So you see this one here, 16th January 24. That's what I want to look at, because, I could also decide it's Tuesday, January 16th. That might work as well. I don't really need the whole year. Like, I know that I'm doing current work. So that might be a really good option to go with Tuesday. And then I know which day of the week it is, and I can go, okay. And now you see how that takes up so much less room. It allows me to do what? To look at my categories and have way more room for my categories, because those are really important. And we won't have time to cover the categories today, but little hint here just to help you out. For your categories, the rule is your categories should represent the types of activities you do in your job. So I'll give you an example. If you're an accountant, then your job is what? You're doing accounts receivables, accounts payables. So you might be doing invoicing, you might be doing consolidation, like bank consolidation. You might be doing working on ledgers. You might be doing following up with suppliers or clients to get payments in or out. So all those things. So what I've named now is, let's say you're doing accounts receivable. You could have a category called accounts receivable. You can have another one called payables. You can have another one called follow-ups. You can have another one which is consolidation. So every time you're doing bank consolidation, you would tag your tasks and your emails with whatever activity you're doing. And so if you come up with 5, 6, 7, maximum 7 categories in the job that you do, that'll cover pretty much everything you're doing. Whether you're doing emails are coming in and you want to categorize those, or emails that you're sending and you want to categorize those, or even if you want to categorize your tasks here, but also if you want to categorize the work that you're doing. So you see, by using colors and categories, it'll actually quickly tell you, what am I doing when? What am I working on? And that's going to be a much faster way of working and more efficient than if you don't have the categories. So that's why the categories become extremely, extremely important to bring into Outlook. So the drag and drops that I've showed you so far was how to drag an email into your daily tasks. So let's say here you have something, you have a follow-up. So again, I would remove my task list here. I would show my preview and say, okay, what's this email about? Okay, it's about this. Oh, well, this, I actually have to follow up on that. So now I would remove my preview and show my tasks and say, okay, well, I need to follow up on that, but that won't be today. I'm going to follow up on that tomorrow. So you could drag this and drop it into tomorrow, And you see what it did? It added a flag as if I had done a right click tomorrow. So I have an option. I can either grab it and drag it, or I could right click the flag and choose when I'm going to work on it. It's the same thing. When I put a flag like that, what happens? It ends up here in my list of things to do. And then I can grab it and file it in my clients. And now it's going to tell me that that email is in the clients folder. So let's say that email that I just clicked on. Hang on, my Outlook just closed. Okay, so let's say the email that I was on. So let me just go back to that. Okay, so let's say that email that I was on for tomorrow, which is right here. Let's say I know that the client is asking me to send him something with regards to invoicing. Well, or with regards to a report. I could click it as reporting because I do a lot of reports in my work. And I could say, well, I have a reporting category. So now I know that this task has to do with reporting. So now that I have this task, let me show you another drag and drop that's really practical. I'm going to go to the calendar here, to the agenda. And before I go there, I want to show you another really nice tip. Sometimes we want to look at our emails and then we want to look at our agenda. And every time we click on the agenda, we lose our emails. And every time we click on the emails, we lose our calendar. So instead of doing that, we can do something even more powerful. We can do a right click on the calendar. You right click on the calendar and then you say open in new window. And by doing that, now you have a second window of your Outlook, and it allows you to toggle back and forth using the Alt-Tab function. So I don't know if you know how to use Alt-Tab, but you can say Alt with your thumb, Tab with your middle finger, and now you can toggle back and forth. So I can show my Outlook email and then my calendar, and my Outlook email and my calendar. So it's a really nice shortcut to go from one to the other. So now that I'm in my calendar view, I'm going to bring in the tasks again. And I want to say, okay, well, this email I have to deal with that I just dragged here. Okay, remember this report I have to work on. I need to find time to do that tomorrow. So I'm going to look at my agenda and say, okay, I have some focus time here. So you know what? I'm going to remove that focus time that I had planned. I'm going to grab this. So I just right clicked on that, by the way, and I just hit the delete button. And I'm going to grab this task here and watch. I'm going to drag it. Oh, didn't need to click on it again. I'm going to grab this task and I'm going to drag it into tomorrow at 1 p.m. and I'm going to release. And the magic just happened here is that not only is my email that I have to work on now here, but on top of that, it's already the proper color for reporting. So when you work with categories and you've already established which categories you need, and you've got a maximum of 7 of them, eventually the colors will mean something to you. And so you'll look at your agenda and go, oh, I've got some reporting here to do. You don't even need to see the category reporting because everything that's brown in your in Outlook environment is for reporting. So let's say you've blocked off 30 minutes here. And actually, you didn't block off 30 minutes. You blocked off 25 minutes. I'll get back to that in a minute. But you blocked off 30 minutes here in your agenda. And let's say, you know what? It's not going to take me 30 minutes. It's going to take me longer than that. So I should just extend it to an hour. So you see how my arrow just changed? If I move my mouse really close to the bottom of that, I have 2 little arrows. Now, if I click on that and extend it up, now I've blocked an hour off in my agenda to work on it. So what we just did together, that is called time blocking. And time blocking is essential if you want to become more efficient, because it allows you to make sure that you're going to put in the time and block the time in your agenda to do what's important in your job. If you don't block that time, what's going to happen? Well, what's going to happen if you don't block that time is somebody's going to call you into a meeting. Somebody's going to come and interrupt you because they think you're doing nothing. And we all know we're not doing nothing. We also always have lots of things to do. So if you want to make sure that the important elements that you need to get done, and when you say to yourself, I'm doing this tomorrow, well, you want to make sure you're doing that tomorrow. Well, make sure that you have time in your agenda that's blocked off to actually do what you said you're going to do. So there it is. So now I literally just dragged that from the taskbar to my agenda. So I'll show you again another one. Let's say I want to, so next week, I want to plan this because I know I said this is an important one, respond with form and documentation from Tim. I have to respond to this person. So this is a task I created for myself. And I said I had to do it on the 22nd. So sorry, that was already, okay. So the 22nd is here and I'm going to grab this task now and I'm going to drag it and I'm going to say, okay, well, 22nd looks like at 9 a.m. I'm working on that. Now you see what happened when I dragged it? This one didn't have a category. So because it had no category, it's blue. Don't want to do that. So I'm going to delete that. I didn't actually delete the task. I just deleted the invitation I had in the meeting I had with myself that I had in the agenda. So what I want to do is say, you know what? I don't want to make it without a category. I want to make sure this is categorized. So I'm going to do a right click on the categories and I'm going to say, okay, this is going to be a consultation that I need to work on. And now that I've categorized it, I'm going to grab it and drag and drop it and move it to my agenda. Now you see, when I move it, it says 9 a.m. to 9:25 a.m. Now, why is that? I'll show you. It's a really cool trick. It's really about being efficient, okay? I don't know about you, but one of the things that I don't like about meetings and agendas and Outlook in general is that a lot of people, they book you always on the hour or on the half hour, right? You have a meeting from 9 to 9:30, and then you have a meeting from 9:30 to 10:30, and then you have a meeting from 10:30 to 11, which means guess what? You never have any time in between your meetings. You're always like back to back to back, and that actually makes you exhausted, makes you stressed out. And many times you show up late because there's always a bit of an overrun, or often there's an overrun, or you're just trying to take your notes at the end of each meeting before you jump into the next one. So instead of saying, well, you know what, I'm going to always be so tight, you can tell Outlook to finish your meetings early. So let me show you how to do that. We go here at the time area here. We're going to do a right click here. We're going to go into the change time zone. I know it's totally counterintuitive, but it's just a really quick shortcut to getting to the options. So we'll do a change time zone. And then when we get there, we're just going to scroll up and you see here it says calendar options, shorten appointments and meetings. And you want them to end early. So what you can do is say for meetings that are less than an hour long, you want to finish them 5 minutes early. And for meetings that are 1 hour or longer, you want to finish 10 minutes early. So what that does is every time you block off an hour, so let's say I block off an hour here and I say meeting with Jake and I hit enter, you see how my 1 hour became 50 minutes. And that's really neat because it allows you to finish at 9:50. It also sends a very clear message to the people who you're inviting to your meeting is guess what? We're not going to finish at 10. We got to finish at 9:50. So let's all be really efficient. Let's limit the chit chat and get straight to the point and get to business and get to doing what we're doing. And that really helps everybody. It alleviates the stress between the 9 to 9:50, 9 to 10 meeting and the 10 o'clock meeting that starts afterwards. So it gives you that little buffer. And it's a really nice thing to have because, we end up getting really stressed out if we don't have that buffer. So here we are now with this task that we dragged and dropped from our taskbar or our to-do bar to our calendar. Now, if I double click on this, what's going to happen? This is going to open up my meeting, my appointment, and it's going to show what? It's going to show the task here. It's going to show what I said I would do, and it's going to show the initial email. So by showing the initial email here, I see exactly the whole history of this task. Now, once I want to actually work on the task, and I go to my calendar, once I want to work on this task here, I'm not going to hit this task here necessarily. I'm going to actually go to this element here on the right-hand side, which is the actual task. So if I click on here now, the reason why I want to work on this is because this has the attachment that I had put in it's the attachment that I had actually put into the task itself. So with the attachment here, now I have the full extent of my task that I created, and I can work on it and make sure it has all the elements it needs. Make sense? So those are the different drag and drops that I can do in my Outlook and that allow me to optimize my navigation time. So instead of copying and pasting a bunch of elements, I can just go to what I need, drag it to where I want it, and keep working. So you can imagine that if I can drag a task to my calendar, I can drag an email to the dashboard here to make it a flagged email, or take an email and drag that up to a task. You can also imagine I can really do just about anything. So let's say I get an email from somebody and I want to make sure I save their contact information. Well, instead of writing the information myself, all I need to do is grab the email from the person. And as soon as I grab that person's email, I can just take it here and drag and drop it into contacts. And that will actually create their contact card. And automatically it'll save their email address. Now, if in that email I had a signature with a phone number, I could just grab this phone number, copy it, and paste it here and put all the details. If I had their address, I could put it all here and do a lot of copying and pasting to avoid making mistakes. The really nice thing about Outlook being able to create the email address from the actual email is that you're sure that you're not going to have a mistake in the email address. It couldn't copy it poorly. It really just created it from the actual email, the back end of the email. So then you hit the X and you save your changes, and now this person is in your contacts here. So if I click on contacts, now Jules is there. So very, very interesting drags and drops you can do to really save tons of time in your Outlook. So that's the tip number one. And how much time do you think you're going to save doing this dragging and dropping? Thank you so much for watching. I really hope it was very helpful and you got a lot of things to take away with you so that you can now save more time, do better, and feel more in control and less stressed about everything you have to accomplish in a day. So I hope to see you soon on the next one. And again, don't forget to hit that little bell so that you know when the next video is coming out. Until then, have a wonderful day and really have an efficient one. Thanks. Bye.